An old house usually warns you before it becomes expensive. It starts with a floorboard that squeaks every time you cross the hallway at night, a bedroom door that needs a shoulder in August, a window that rattles when the wind comes from the west, a cold draft under the back door that everyone complains about but nobody tracks down. Today, those little problems often get ignored until they turn into bigger ones, or they get answered with replacement parts before anyone understands what changed. But old-timers looked at a house differently. To them, a squeak was not just noise, it was movement. A sticky door was not just annoyance, it was wood, humidity, hinge wear, or a frame telling a story. A drafty window was not just cold air, it was a gap, a latch, a sash, or weather that had found a path inside. In 1959, in a small frame house outside Grand Rapids, Michigan, a father could walk from the kitchen to the front porch and hear three things the rest of the family had stopped hearing. The floor talked, the door dragged, the window clicked in its frame. He did not call that old house charm. He called it a Saturday list. Number 18 on this list was the tiny habit that helped old windows stop rattling in winter. Number 9 kept doors from being shaved down before anyone knew where they were sticking. And number 1 may be the most important old-timer fix for any house that seems to be getting louder, colder, and harder to live with every year. These are not miracle repairs, and they are not dangerous shortcuts. They are old-timer fixes for squeaky floors, sticky doors, and drafty windows, from a time when people tried to understand a house before replacing parts of it. This is history, memory, and practical household wisdom. Gas, wiring, roofs, structural damage, major plumbing, fire, mold, asbestos, broken glass, unsafe stairs, and anything risky belong with qualified professionals today. So here are 25 old-timer fixes for squeaky floors, sticky doors, and drafty windows. Number 25, the slow walk. The first old-timer fix was not a tool, it was a walk. A father or grandfather would move through the house slowly, not because he was tired, but because he was listening. He stepped on the squeaky spot more than once. He opened the sticky door halfway, then all the way. He pushed a window gently and felt whether it moved in the frame. He stood still near the draft instead of blaming the whole room. Modern life trains people to hurry past small annoyances. Old home care did the opposite. It slowed down around them. The slow walk mattered because a house problem usually has a pattern. The floor squeaks in one place, not everywhere. The door drags in damp weather, not all year. The draft is stronger when the wind comes from one direction. The window rattles when the latch is loose, not because the whole window is doomed. Before buying anything, old-timers gathered evidence. That is still the smartest place to start. A house that is listened to carefully often explains more than people expect. Number 24, the pencil mark on the squeak. A squeaky floor can be hard to find once everyone starts walking around. Old-timers solve that with a pencil mark, a bit of tape, or a small piece of paper set beside the spot. They did not trust memory when the sound moved through boards and joists. They marked the exact place where the foot made the noise. That sounds almost too simple. It saved a lot of guessing. A floor squeak might come from boards rubbing, a loose fastener, a subfloor moving, or something more serious if the floor feels soft, sagging, cracked, or unsafe. The old mark did not diagnose everything, but it narrowed the question. It said, "The sound begins here." That mattered, because random repairs can make floors worse. A man who starts driving nails wherever he thinks the sound might be can scar good wood and miss the real movement. The pencil mark was humility. It admitted that the house knew the location better than the person did. Find the sound before you fight the sound. Number 23, the weight test. Some floor noises happen only under weight. Old fathers knew this because they tested with their own bodies. They shifted from heel to toe. They stepped from different directions. They had a child walk across the room while they watched from the side. They noticed whether the board squeaked under a light step, a heavy step, or only when weight moved from one board to the next. The weight test helped separate a small movement from a larger concern. A harmless squeak in an old board is one thing. A soft floor, springy section, sagging area, cracked tile, moving stair tread, or floor that feels unsafe is another. That belongs with someone qualified. But for ordinary old house squeaks, the weight test still makes sense. It tells you whether the sound is a single board, a joint between boards, a loose area, or a seasonal movement that shows up when the house is dry or damp. Old-timers did not always know the technical words. They knew how to make the house repeat itself. And once a problem repeats, it can be understood.
Number 22. The basement listen. In houses with accessible basements, old handymen often listen from below. One person walked upstairs. Another stood below, looking and listening. The sound that seemed mysterious from above sometimes became clearer from underneath. A squeak might line up with a joist, a pipe passing through wood, a loose board, or an area where old framing moved slightly. This was not a license to start structural work. It was observation. Old-timers understood that the underside of a house told the truth in a different language. You could see where boards crossed. You could hear where movement traveled. You could notice whether something looked damp, cracked, unsupported, or beyond a simple household fix. Today, basements and crawl spaces can involve mold, pests, wiring, plumbing, low clearance, asbestos, or unsafe conditions. If there is any risk, stay out and call the right person. But the old principle still matters. Look at the problem from more than one side. A squeak heard from above and a squeak heard from below are not always the same story. Number 21. The dry season note. Old houses change with the seasons. Many squeaks are louder in winter when the air is dry and wood shrinks. Doors that worked in February may stick in August when humidity rises. Windows may rattle in cold weather and tighten in damp weather. Old-timers kept this in their heads. Some even marked it on a calendar, a workshop note, or a memory shared at the table. Hall floor squeaks worse in January. Pantry door sticks after rain. Bedroom window rattles when north wind comes. That note mattered because timing changes the repair. If a door is shaved aggressively during the most humid week of the year, it may have a big ugly gap when the air dries. If a floor is silenced during one season without understanding movement, the sound can return in another. The old secret was patience with seasonal wood. Not every old house noise needs an immediate permanent answer. Sometimes it needs a record, a watchful eye, and a fix chosen at the right time. A house has weather inside it too. Number 20. The rug pad quieting trick. Not every floor squeak needs to be attacked directly. Sometimes an old-timer reduced the annoyance by changing how people walked over it. A rug with a proper pad could soften foot pressure, reduce small movement sounds, protect boards from grit, and make a hallway less sharp underfoot. This was not pretending a serious problem did not exist. It was matching the answer to the problem. If a floor is damaged, loose, soft, or unsafe, a rug is not a fix. But if the floor is sound and simply old, dry, and noisy, a good rug pad can make daily life quieter while protecting the surface. Depression-era and mid-century households understood that comfort did not always require rebuilding. Sometimes it required softening contact. The rug pad also protected finish. Old floors often suffer from the same path walked 1,000 times. A runner in a hallway did more than decorate. It took the punishment so the boards did not have to. That is old home wisdom. Protect the path people actually use. Number 19. The talcum squeak test. One old household trick for small board squeaks involved fine powder between rubbing boards. Talcum powder, powdered graphite, or other dry materials were sometimes used carefully where two floorboards rubbed. The idea was simple. If the sound came from dry edges rubbing, a fine dry material could reduce friction for a while. This was a light household trick, not a repair for loose, damaged, unsafe, or valuable floors. It also came with judgment. You did not dump powder everywhere. You did not use anything that would stain, gum up, damage the finish, or create a mess. On fine floors, unknown finishes, or historic surfaces, guesswork can do harm. But the logic still matters. Some squeaks are friction sounds. Old-timers knew that not every sound came from something broken. Sometimes two dry edges were complaining because they had been rubbing each other all winter. The talcum trick belongs here less as a modern instruction and more as a reminder. Understand the kind of sound before choosing the kind of answer. Number 18. The window latch check. A drafty window is sometimes not a bad window. Sometimes it is a window that is not fully pulled tight. Old-timers check the latch before blaming the sash. A loose, misaligned, painted over, or poorly seated latch could leave a tiny gap that let winter air in and made the window rattle. The fix could be as simple as cleaning the latch area, checking whether paint was blocking full closure, tightening ordinary hardware when safe, or noticing that the latch no longer pulled the window together. This mattered because many people jumped straight to replacement. But a window is a system: sash, frame, latch, meeting rail, weather stripping, paint, glass, and seasonal movement. If the latch is not doing its job, the rest of the window gets blamed. Broken glass, rotten sash, lead paint, unsafe heights, or exterior window work are not casual jobs. But the old habit of checking the latch first still makes sense. Number 18 saved windowsills, rooms, and winter comfort because it asked the cheapest question first. Is the window actually closed the way it was meant to be? Pause the count for a moment. Look at what these first 8 fixes have in common. They do not begin with a product. They begin with diagnosis. Where is the squeak? When does it happen? What changes with the season? Is the floor sound or unsafe? Is the window really closed? Is the draft coming from the sash, the latch, the door, or the wall? That is what old-timers did better than many modern homeowners. They did not treat the house like a mystery box. They treated it like a system that could be questioned. The next group moves into sticky doors, loose hinges, swollen wood, rattling glass, and the little tests that kept old handymen from taking too much off a door or blaming the wrong part of the house. Number 17. The hinge screw check. A sticky door is not always a swollen door. Sometimes it is a sagging door. Old-timers check the hinge side before shaving wood off the latch side. A loose hinge screw can let the door drop just enough to rub the floor, strike the frame, or miss the latch. For ordinary interior doors, a careful tightening of loose hinge screws could sometimes bring the door back into line. If the hole was worn, small light-duty fixes might help on interior trim or cabinet work. But exterior doors, damaged frames, heavy doors, security doors, or anything structural should not be treated casually. The lesson is the important part. Check the hinge before cutting the door. Many doors have been shaved, sanded, or planed because someone blamed the wrong edge. Once wood is removed, it does not grow back in winter. Old handymen liked reversible fixes first. Tighten, observe, test, then decide. That patience saved many doors from being made worse by enthusiasm. Number 16. The chalk rub test. When a door sticks, guessing is dangerous. Old-timers used chalk pencil, or a light mark to find the rub. They marked the edge of the door, closed it gently, opened it, and looked for where the mark transferred or wore away. The goal was not to fix the door yet. The goal was to make the door confess. A sticky door might rub near the top, near the latch, along the bottom, or only at one swollen corner. Without a mark, a person may sand the wrong area and create a gap that looks worse than the original problem. The chalk rub test still makes sense because it turns irritation into evidence. It also slows the worker down. That matters. A sticky door can make a person impatient, and impatience is how old trim gets scarred, old doors get overcut, and simple repairs become visible mistakes. The old-timer rule was quiet but firm. Never remove wood until you know where the wood is arguing. Number 15. The humidity pause. Doors often stick when the air changes. Summer humidity swells wood. Winter dryness shrinks it. A bathroom door may behave differently from a bedroom door. A basement door may have its own weather. An old kitchen door may swell after weeks of damp air. Old handymen knew not to panic at the first sticky week of the year. They watched. Did the door always stick, or only after rain? Did it scrape in August and free itself in October? Did it stick because paint built up, because the hinge sagged, or because the wood had absorbed moisture? That pause could save the door. If a man planes a door during peak humidity, the gap may become too large when dry air returns. If he ignores a door that suddenly sticks after a leak, he may miss a bigger problem. The humidity pause is not inaction. It is interpretation. Old houses move. Good homeowners learn the difference between normal seasonal movement and a new warning sign. Number 14. The soap latch bolt. Sometimes a door feels sticky because the latch is fighting, not the wood. Old-timers checked whether the latch bolt moved smoothly into the strike plate. Was it dry? Dirty? Painted? Misaligned? Was the strike plate loose? Was the door sagging just enough that the latch no longer entered cleanly? For simple interior doors, a tiny touch of dry soap or wax on the latch edge could sometimes help a sticky latch move more smoothly. Cleaning paint buildup around the strike plate could help too. The important part was not the soap. It was finding the real source of resistance. A door has several ways to complain. Wood can rub. Hinges can sag. Latches can drag. Paint can build up. Frames can shift. If you treat every complaint as a swollen door, you may fix nothing. Old-timers liked cheap tests because cheap tests protected expensive decisions. Before sanding the door, ask whether the metal is the part that is sticking. Number 13. The strike plate listen. A door that clicks badly tells a story. Old fathers listened to the latch as it met the strike plate. Did it hit high? Low? Hard? Did the door need lifting? Did the latch scrape the edge before catching? Did the door close only when pushed with a hip? That little sound could reveal alignment. Sometimes the strike plate was loose. Sometimes paint had built up. Sometimes the door had settled. Sometimes the frame had moved enough that the issue needed more than a casual adjustment. The old habit was to listen before reaching for a file, chisel, or drill. This still matters because many people enlarge strike plate holes by guess. The door closes, but the repair looks rough and may create a loose latch later. Old-timers respected the meeting point. The latch and strike plate are where the whole door proves whether it hangs correctly. A bad click is not just a sound. It is a measurement you can hear. Number 12. The paint buildup scrape check. Old doors often carry many coats of paint. Each coat is thin. Decades of coats are not. A door can begin sticking simply because paint has built up along the edge, hinge side, latch side, or stop. Old-timers looked for ridges, drips, sticky old paint, or places where paint had been closing against paint for years. This area needs caution in older homes. Old paint can contain lead, and scraping or sanding it can be hazardous. If there is any chance of lead paint, use proper testing and qualified help. But the old diagnostic habit still matters. Do not blame the door until you have looked at the paint. Sometimes the wood is fine. The hinge is fine. The frame is fine. The problem is layers of past repairs sitting on top of each other. Old houses remember every shortcut. Paint buildup is one of the ways they remember. Number 11. The bottom clearance test. A door that rubs the floor can be maddening. Old-timers check the bottom before cutting anything. Was the rug new? Had the floor swollen? Had the hinge sagged? Was the threshold high? Did the door rub across the whole bottom or only one corner? The answer mattered. If only one corner rubbed, the door might be sagging. If the whole bottom dragged after a new rug arrived, the rug might be the change. If the floor rose or felt uneven, the issue might not be the door at all. This is another place where the old habit was better than the quick fix. A quick fix says, cut the bottom. The old habit says, find out what changed. Cutting a door is permanent. Tightening a hinge, adjusting a rug, cleaning a threshold, or noticing a larger floor issue may be the better first step. Old handymen were not afraid of tools. They were afraid of using the right tool on the wrong problem. Number 10. The window rope caulk season. Before every window was sealed by modern systems, many homes used seasonal answers. Rope caulk was one of them. Pressed into small window gaps for winter, it could help reduce drafts and be removed when warm weather returned. Old-timers liked it because it respected the season. A window that needed to open in May might need help sealing in January. The house had winter habits and summer habits. This still makes sense in principle. A modest seasonal gap can have a modest seasonal answer. But damaged windows, rotten frames, broken glass, unsafe access, or lead paint concerns require proper help. The deeper lesson is timing. Old homeowners prepared before the coldest week arrived. They did not wait for the family to complain from under blankets. They found the draft, sealed what could be safely sealed, and made a note for better weather. Winter has a way of punishing procrastination. Rope caulk was a small defense against that. Number 9. The paper feeler test. Old-timers did not always need fancy tools to find a gap. A strip of paper could tell whether a door or window was closing tightly. Close the door or window gently on the paper and feel whether it pulled out easily or held with some resistance. The test was simple. It was also revealing. If paper slid out without resistance in one spot but gripped in another, the seal was uneven. If a door held paper near the latch but not at the bottom, the draft had a clue. If a window was loose at the meeting rail, the latch or sash might need attention. This is not a repair by itself. It is a question with paper in its hand. The paper feeler test saved old-timers from guessing where air entered. It also helped them avoid stuffing, caulking, or weather stripping the wrong place. That is why number 9 belongs here. Cheap evidence beats expensive guessing. Stop again and look at the pattern. This middle group is about not overreacting. A sticky door can come from hinge sag, humidity, paint buildup, latch drag, strike plate alignment, floor changes, or seasonal swelling. A drafty window can come from a latch, a sash, a meeting rail, a gap, or a seasonal shift. If you jump straight to cutting, sanding, replacing, or sealing everything, you may fix the wrong thing and scar the house in the process. Old-timers were not slow because they lacked confidence. They were slow because they had seen what confidence can ruin. The next fixes move into drafts, rattles, door sweeps, window stops, and the old habit of making a house quieter without making it careless. Number 8. The curtain movement check. A curtain can reveal a draft before your hand feels it. Old homeowners noticed this. If a curtain moved when the room was still, air was entering somewhere. It might be a window gap, a floor draft, a loose sash, a door crack, or even air movement from another part of the house. The curtain movement check worked because it made invisible air visible. Today, people have better tools, and professionals can diagnose serious energy problems. But the old habit still helps the mind. Look for evidence before blaming the whole room. A draft complaint often begins as, "This room is cold." The old-timer question was, "Where does the cold enter?" That question changes everything. The answer might be a door bottom, a window latch, an unused keyhole, a fireplace issue, a basement leak of air, or a problem that needs professional attention. The curtain did not solve it. The curtain pointed. That was enough to begin. Number 7. The door snake habit. A draft under a door can make a whole room feel neglected. Depression-era and mid-century families often used a simple door snake, rolled towel, fabric tube, or weighted draft stopper at the bottom of a door. It was humble, removable, and easy to understand. This was especially useful for interior comfort: a cold back room, a door to an unheated porch, a basement door, or a drafty entry where a permanent repair had to wait. The door snake did not pretend to rebuild the door. It reduced a specific problem in a specific place. That is why it still makes sense. Not every draft gets solved the same day. A temporary comfort fix can be honest if the household understands it is not a cure for rot, gaps, damaged thresholds, or exterior door problems. Old-timers were practical. They knew winter did not wait for perfect solutions. Sometimes the first fix was simply keeping the cold from crawling across the floor tonight. Number 6. The window stop tightening habit. Old windows often rattle because something that should hold them snug has loosened. A stop, latch, sash lock, or small piece of trim may no longer do its job. Old-timers check these parts before blaming the whole window. For ordinary, safe, accessible interior parts, a careful tightening or cleaning could sometimes reduce rattle. But old windows can involve lead paint, fragile glass, sash weights, exterior work, and hidden damage, so judgment matters. The secret was not tightening everything blindly. It was checking what was supposed to hold what. Windows rattle when movement has room. Find the room, and you understand the sound. That old habit saved money because a rattling window often scared people into thinking the entire window was bad. Sometimes it was. Sometimes it was simply loose where it should have been snug. Old handymen liked to ask the cheapest honest question first. What is moving that should not be? Number 5. The felt bumper quieting fix. Cabinet doors, interior doors, and small household panels can make a house sound harsher than it needs to. Old-timers used little bits of felt, leather, rubber, cork, or cloth to quiet contact points. A cabinet door that clicked against wood. A screen door that tapped in the wind. A loose panel that buzzed. A small latch that sounded sharper than it should. This was not a fix for serious movement, broken hardware, or unsafe doors. It was a quieting habit. The point was to put a little softness between two hard surfaces. This still makes sense today because homes are emotional spaces as much as physical ones. A constant tap, click, rattle, or slam makes a house feel worn out even when nothing major is wrong. Old families often cared about the sound of a house. A cared-for home closed softly. That did not happen by accident. Number 4. The threshold cleaning rule. A door threshold takes the weather personally. Grit, mud, paint flakes, old leaves, dust, swelling wood, worn finish, and loose debris can all collect where the door is supposed to close cleanly. Old-timers cleaned thresholds before blaming the door. That little habit solved more than people think. A dirty threshold can keep a door from sealing. It can wear the bottom edge. It can hold moisture. It can make a door feel sticky when the actual problem is the place it lands. Exterior thresholds also involve water, rot, security, and trip hazards, so damaged ones need proper attention. But cleaning and observing the threshold is basic old house intelligence. The door and threshold work together. If one is dirty, swollen, loose, or damaged, the other gets blamed. The threshold cleaning rule still makes sense because it begins with the most humble question of all. Is something simply in the way? Before the top 3, remember what this list is really about. It is not about pretending every squeak is harmless or every draft is simple. Old houses can hide serious problems. Soft floors, unsafe stairs, damaged windows, broken glass, rot, mold, wiring, structural movement, and major water damage belong with professionals. But many old house annoyances begin as understandable conditions. Friction, movement, gaps, loose hardware, seasonal wood, dirt in the wrong place, a latch that no longer pulls tight, a board that speaks because it moves. The old-timer advantage was not magic. It was the refusal to treat every annoyance as a mystery or every mystery as a purchase. The final 3 fixes are the habits that made that possible. Number 3. The reversible fix first. Old-timers liked repairs that could be undone before repairs that could not. Tightening before cutting. Marking before sanding. Cleaning before replacing. Testing paper before sealing. Watching a seasonal door before shaving it down. Using a removable draft stopper before making a permanent change. This was not fear. It was wisdom. Some fixes are permanent the moment the tool touches the house. A door cut too short stays short. Trim scarred by impatience stays scarred. A window sealed carelessly may lose a function it still needed. The reversible fix first still makes sense today. If a small, safe, reversible action helps you understand the problem, take that step before the permanent one. Old handymen knew a house is easier to preserve when your first answer does not create a second problem. Number 2. The record of recurring trouble. The best old homeowners remembered patterns. This window rattles a northwest wind. The pantry door sticks after 3 rainy days. The hallway squeak is louder in January. The back door draft shows up when the storm door is not latched. Sometimes the record was written down. Sometimes it lived in a father's head. Sometimes it was passed across the kitchen table as household knowledge. That memory mattered because repeated trouble is different from random trouble. A one-time sticky door may be humidity. A door that worsens every season may be movement, moisture, hinge wear, or something else. A draft that returns after every storm has a source. A squeak that spreads may deserve more attention than a single old board. Modern homes often lose this memory because people reset the conversation every time the annoyance returns. Old households connected the dots. That is how small clues became useful knowledge. Number 1. The fix the cause, not the complaint rule. The most important old-timer fix for squeaky floors, sticky doors, and drafty windows was not powder, wax, chalk, felt, paper, rope caulk, or a screwdriver. It was the rule underneath all of them. Fix the cause, not just the complaint. A floor squeaks because something moves. A door sticks because something changed. A window drafts because air found a path. A latch misses because alignment shifted. A threshold fails because dirt, wear, moisture, or movement got there first. Old-timers did not always have fancy tools, but the good ones had this instinct. They did not want to silence a squeak if the floor was unsafe. They did not want to shave a door if the hinge was loose. They did not want to stuff a draft if water was rotting the sill. They did not want a room to feel warm for one night, while the real problem kept working in the wall. That is why their houses often lasted. They looked past the complaint. Think back to that small Michigan house in 1959. The floor talked. The door dragged. The window clicked in its frame. To one person, those were just old house annoyances. To the father walking through on Saturday morning, they were messages. He stepped where the board squeaked. He marked where the door rubbed. He checked whether the window latched. He felt for the draft before blaming the whole room. No one called that diagnostics. It was just taking care of the house. But that is the kind of care many homes miss now. Not because people stopped loving their homes. Because they were taught to replace before understanding, to tolerate annoyance until it becomes expensive, and to treat small sounds as background noise instead of early warnings. The old value is still worth keeping. Attention. Patience. The willingness to ask what changed before deciding what to buy. If this reminded you of a father, grandfather, neighbor, old hallway, sticky kitchen door, drafty bedroom window, or squeaky floorboard everyone in the family knew by sound, tell us what your house used to say and who knew how to listen. Because sometimes the first repair is not a tool in the hand. It is hearing the house before it has to shout.